KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning here. Our great friend Dave Petzo joining us, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial, on Facebook and Twitter. Now, you were telling me some stuff off the air. Would you like to share that with me?
About relevance? Yeah, and how irrelevant, yeah, sure, why not? I think it's a weird world, trying to stay relevant in a world where we care what the Kardashians are doing and not what's going on in Syria. We care that the royal family had a baby. Really, the royal family doesn't do anything. I mean, they have no power. They don't do anything. My whole life, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Right. Well, you could go. We
don't even live in Britain, and we have to report this breathlessly.
Don't be shy. Let's hear what you said off the air. I thought that was
I said that Bruce Jenner was on my Wheaties box. Okay, I don't care about the Kardashians. He was on my Wheaties box. He was a hero growing up.
He was your hero.
That was a lot of people's hero.
Right.
The Wheaties box was not made for Dave Petzo. It was made for everybody because he was an amazing guy.
It was made for Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, apparently it was. Back when she wasn't Caitlyn, it was Bruce.
I see.
It's a weird world.
Anything
it's hard
else?
to stay relevant in that world.
Well.
So I admire you for your, you have to at least set the context of the discussion. I'm just trying to stay relevant. And you're doing a heck of a job of it. The relevance of the world today, to me, drives me crazy. So I think
you don't like the
fantastic.
royal family, or do you like the royal family?
I could care less about the royal family, frankly.
Yet everybody's talking about the royal family.
I find that
Prince
weird.
William or his wife. I guess his wife had a baby boy.
Was it a baby boy?
Yeah.
Happy, healthy? Was it born with hair or without?
I'll have to get back to you on that. So here we have Dave Petzo joining us here, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. Before we get to anything else, this issue involving, who's going to be Idaho's next governor. It's going to happen in a couple weeks here.
Yeah, well, the big debate here tonight, right?
One, yes, on Idaho Public Television, and then the channel that you and I and all of us here at KIDO Talk Radio are associated with, Channel 7, they'll have their debate, too.
Yes.
Right. So I did watch the one on public television last night. It was kind of a snoozer. You have the Democrats, A.J. Belukoff, beloved in the city of Boise, running again. You got to admire him spending his own money like he did the last time. You've got soon-to-be former state representative Paulette Jordan running. And the only thing I think is she's pretty tall.
That was your big takeaway
right.
from the debate?
Very, very well spoken. Seems like a very nice young lady. We've invited both of them to come on.
Yeah.
But, she could take me in the low post, but pretty much everybody with average height can take me in the low post. Just a self.
But you're quick. You're quick.
Just a self-actualization here this morning at KIDO Talk Radio. But we have this. I don't know what I'm going to do after May 15th. We're having. By the way, if you're not doing anything Thursday, the 17th of May, we're going to be at Terry's Cafe in Meridian, where we're inviting all the candidates to come in to have a unity rally.
Wow.
We're going to have. We're inviting all the Republicans to come in and see what happens there. Of course, whoever else wants to come in as well, Terry's Cafe in Meridian will be there. And then we'll have the big unity rally on the State House. And we want to thank the State Republican Party for joining forces with us. Because I think it's important that you have a contested primary, and then afterwards everybody figures out whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, where you're going.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. No, and hats off again.
Maybe you should attend.
You are always. I will be in New York. I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness! You know what you're doing in May.
In May.
Yeah,
I do.
All right. Okay.
I do.
That was a little too quick to think that wasn't legit, but maybe you can join us via Skype.
Perfect.
There you have it.
Perfect.
So we have this big election coming up. Now, why can't these gubernatorial candidates do something about the high cost of gas in Idaho? I figured this out, Dave Petzo. I've said, something? We're going to have Kevin Miller meat and potato issues here. Never mind this, that, and the other. What impacts our lives, most notably the high cost of gas here in the Gem State.
I like it.
Why can't we have somebody who says, why don't we have somebody pander to us and say, Kevin Miller, you and those folks at KIDO Talk Radio are right. We're going to build your refinery. Gas is going to be $1.50 a gallon.
That's it.
Now, whether it's true or not, I don't care. Just tell me what I want to hear. Why not build a refinery? We've got enough desert out here.
Kevin, that's a perfect liberal perspective. I love
progressive.
it.
I prefer progressive.
Progressive? Oh, yes, that's a perfect progressive. It doesn't matter what your results are as long as you sound good, right?
Right.
Make promises you can't keep. Just talk about peace, love, and unity, and you get people's votes.
But to a more serious point, why can't somebody Instead of just going, well, that's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Why not come up with a solution?
Well, I think that would be great, Kevin. Seriously, if there's any economic opportunity, if there's not, I don't want government doing it. But if there's any economic opportunity to help a company build a pipeline with low-cost loads, and give them get rid of all the red tape that would make it take 10 years to get a pipeline built for, 5 miles. We don't want to be California in that regard. Just get that red tape out of the way. Let a company come in, maybe do some low-cost loans to help support them. That's it. Then let them build the pipeline and operate it, and you have a competitor.
Right, kind of like what we did with Chobani. Just give them a bunch of incentives.
You give them the biggest incentive that Chobani got was you can build this factory in a year. We will make it easy, and we will keep the regulators off your back. And they did.
Now, they got some breaks on taxes, though.
I'm sure they did. And that's going to be a lot more of a county issue. I'm quite sure that they did. And I'm sure that the state gave them some reduction in corporate tax, or in the state income tax as well. But again, the biggest part is to be able to do something quickly and move strike when the iron's hot. Business changes. And if you can't build something now, it may not be opportune to do it 5 or 10 years from now.
Sure. So back to the high cost of gas that does impact businesses here in the Treasure Valley. Oh, get used to it. Yeah, people that are very frustrated, rightfully so, that are seeing more of their money going out of their wallets and into the gas meters.
Kevin, it does, and for those people that drive a lot, it is a big deal, right? It's for people that have an electric car, they don't care, and they're probably like, really almost in your face, I don't care. But for people that have a long commute and use up a lot of gas, or they use it in their business, it does have an impact on the margins. But overall, again, I'm not trying to dismiss that it matters to the individual, but overall to the economy, higher gas prices, higher oil prices is a strong sign of good global growth. That's a positive. It also means those pipelines and the energy companies in the Midwest are going to be continuing to build. That's a huge job creator. It's a huge push for our overall economy, tax revenue, everything. It is good for the economy to have energy prices not soaring, but staying in this area right here where they're strong, over $60 a barrel, makes all oil companies profitable, and that's a big deal.
Well, it's not big to the little consumer, and here you have this. Oil fast approaching $70 a barrel. Is the economy ready? In the old days, it used to be, well, there was a war. That's why we explained the spike in oil prices now. And even the president, a president that you agree with, saying, look, I'm tired of OPEC jacking up the prices.
Yep.
I'm tired of the American people getting hosed. We're going to do something about it.
Kevin, he's trying to jawbone it down. We're going to do something about it. We are doing something about it every single day. And the White House has done everything it could. And that is get the red tape out of the way, allow for drilling, allow for fracking, allow for and speed up those energy pipelines, because right now it's very difficult in the Bakken to get all of that energy out because it has to be trucked out, railed out, and that's very, very expensive, and it's dangerous. And allowing them to speed along these pipelines is all the government should be doing, can do, and just let the energy companies build. So everybody's doing everything they can.
Right, but the prices are going up. I still don't know why prices are going up.
Prices are going up. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's no war going on. There's no glut. There's supply is running wild. I believe the president that the oil companies are sticking it to us.
Well, the OPEC is. There's no question, because they have been trying to keep their production down. They could produce more, and they have been trying collectively to keep it down in order to keep prices higher. And that makes sense for them. It makes sense for the world, and it certainly doesn't hurt our marginal producers here. And on top of that, Kevin, we are the marginal producer in the world now. We're not holding back. We're not part of OPEC. We're not trying to keep prices down. So these energy companies are drilling, and that is going to help tamp down the prices. OPEC does not have the control they used to.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Our great friend Dave Petz is with us. Now, I was thinking of you when you were having your lattes with Channel 7 earlier this morning.
Yes. Well, they were very good.
And unlike the stuff that we have here, we're the commoners here. So
your coffee's better here, by the way.
Well, thank you. That's one thing we have of our friends at Channel 7. They have Maggie and Doug, and we have better coffee. So nationalism versus capitalism. It's true that even though we haven't built a refinery, we're so efficient at it that we export gasoline, right?
Yep.
Why not flood it into the market so all of a sudden Americans are paying 30 to 40 cents less a gallon. Why not take care of the folks here?
I agree. Totally. I totally agree. I think that.
Well, that's no fun when you agree.
I know my progressive friend.
Yeah. Or as Pat from Middleton, liberal Kevin, he calls me. My progressive friend, yes. But again, you would be in favor of that. The argument is they make more money selling to the Japanese.
Then they should let them. It's not their fault. Look, capitalism is nationalism, Kevin. When you have forced nationalism, you force companies to sell only to certain places. That affects the marketplace and it affects the economy, and it's always in a negative way. You think it won't matter because it's one little thing here or there. It totally matters. And if you force companies to sell gasoline below what they could sell somewhere else, that makes no sense at all to the capitalist market, and you will not have more refineries built. You will not have
we don't already.
More pipelines expanded. Well, we don't.
But they get breaks from the government as well. We give them tax breaks as well. We give them incentives to build those pipelines.
We can. That's a possibility. That's
right.
One thing government could do.
Right.
Back to your original question, yes.
So why not? But to me, to your point, and by the way, Mark and Eagle, we'll get to you in a minute with Dave Petzo at KIDO Talk Radio. We're artificially inflating the prices because we make so much here. We restrict it to the American citizens. We restrict it to Dave Petzo that doesn't have a hybrid vehicle. So you're paying more at the pump.
Right.
When if we released it here and then went to the higher cost countries that are paying more, then our gas prices would be, I'm no expert, 20, 30 cents cheaper a gallon.
Well, very well could be. But again, you're telling me as a producer of gasoline, I take all the risk, all the capital risk, a risk of a huge accident, a refinery goes down, we lose millions of dollars, and I'm not allowed to sell my gasoline to the highest price. Whose fault is that? The government imposing that kind of regulation stifles business in every way. And just forcing it sounds like an easy idea. We can't, Kevin. That's just capitalism needs to be as free as humanly possible in order to be as efficient as possible. I believe that the reason that gasoline prices are higher than they could be, is because we have limited the supply of it by not building more refineries. If we could supply gasoline to South America and the Caribbean like we do, but not enough left over for America, then let them build another factory or refinery.
Yeah, but to that point, we could also argue that we're doing it more efficiently without that. More on that with Dave Petzo in a minute. We'll hear from Mark and Eagle and you at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. All right, the contest continues. Conservative Dave Petzo and with his little liberal friend Kevin Miller here at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Let's go to Mark and Eagle, who wants to talk energy with Dave Petzo. Good morning, Mark.
Well, good morning, Kevin. I guess I'd be a liberal, too, going by Dave's classification. Dave, there's capitalism, then there's crapitalism. When you go out there and screw your fellow American out there at the pump, I wouldn't call that crapitalism. I call it something related to a mafia type of an organization or corporate thinking. If you think of this, just think this through. You go to gasbuddies.com. You could put in Boise, Idaho on their map, on their graph sheet there. You could find out when oil was almost $150 a barrel. We were paying here in the Valley, Dave, around $4.25, $4.35 a gallon. Now, if you look at the barrel price right now at about $68, $69 a barrel, it doesn't, if you equate cutting in half what the barrel price is to the price of the pump, and you're probably going to tell me it doesn't work that way, we should actually be paying around $2.45, $2.35, $2.25 a gallon. So they are gouging us. Yes, they are. And I'll tell you, I lived in the Bay Area. You had Richmond oil refineries. You had the Benicia, Martinez oil refineries there. It did not equate. If you took California taxes out, it did not equate to lower prices at the pump, even though they were within miles of any gas station around the Bay Area there. So the bit about bringing a refinery in and building one here in our backyard, I can guarantee you it won't make a hill of beans worth of difference in the price of the pump. Maybe 2 or 3 cents, maybe. And this bit about us having a problem with these 1 or 2 pipelines coming in here, we have never. And now they want to point to all the out-of-staters coming in here and the growth and all that. We've never had a problem with supply here. They always seem to be able to supply the fuel to us. So it's a bunch of BS. That's the way I feel. And I think there's a lot of people out there who feel the same way.
Dave, your thoughts, defender of the oil company.
First of all, I'm not going to defend him. As you know, Kevin, I do not believe in a monopoly at all. And that's the pipeline that comes into this state is a monopoly. And that's why, to your point, why don't we build another one? That's a great point. Number two, obviously it doesn't work that way. You can't equate exact savings on oil to a gallon of gasoline. And each state obviously has ridiculously high taxes, some more ridiculously high than others. That impacts it as well. And also, as you know, from California and all the super liberal places, they want 12 or 20 or 50 different additives put in, which does nothing more than add cost. And each particular state or county, in the cases of Washington, I think they've got something like 26 different blends because of all the different counties that have decided that they want it a certain way. And so when you divide it up that way, it makes it very, very expensive. I'm not defending them. I'm just simply saying that if we allow the free market to work instead of restricting it and having everything be so ridiculously different county to county, it would naturally drop the prices down and allow other pipelines to be built. My whole argument of capitalism over nationalism is that it doesn't work. You are not going to force companies to act a certain way and then also expect them to expand and do more business and create great things. The purity and beauty of capitalism is it is creative destruction. What isn't working will be destroyed, and a new company will come in its place.
Can I add one more thing, gentlemen? Tell me this, because you brought up a great point. I've complained about this before, Dave and Kevin, is the fact that all these additives that different states do. So, I mean, where is the illogic in that thinking? I mean, that gives a chance right there for manipulation of prices in any given state. Why not make one clean, marketable gas that's universal across this country instead of saying whatever additives they need to add, and then we don't have to hear this BS about, we have to charge more because we're shutting down a refinery to change over to this blend, that blend, whatever. Make the cleanest blend you can, make it universal across the country for winter, and whatever it is during the summer, all the same. I'll let you guys go on that. You all have a good day.
All right.
You have a good day, too.
Thank you very much.
Well, he makes a great. I wish they would. But, of course, who's going to do it? The liberals don't want, or they want ethanol, even though it makes no sense.
Look, my people want the
I'm
ethanol.
sorry, your people, Kevin.
My libs.
I thought you liked the progressive. You prefer progressive to lib.
Yeah, but see, you can't call us a lib, but the libs we can call ourselves the libs.
I forgot.
See, you would do that. You're a bully, but for us, we like to be the libs.
I don't want to be a bully.
Okay.
I'm working on my sensitivity here.
Traffic and weather together at and let's go to Max in Garden City. Max, thanks for your patience. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Oh, I have been calling about that Twitter thing, but if we're talking energy, let me ask Mr. Petzo a question. Is this the free market or is this price fixing?
Both. I think that companies that have a monopoly, I think it's a fair point, but we do have, what I'm simply saying is not that we have a problem. We always have in Idaho. I remember 20, 30 years ago. Jones, what was his first name? Anyway, Jones was the Attorney General and looked
Jonesy. Good old Jonesy
from Twin Falls was the Attorney General, and he looked into price fixing, and it went on for over a year. They didn't find anything, but I'll tell you what, prices dropped dramatically. So I think that the political pressure, when brought to bear, is effective. We only have one company, and the idea that they're charging us as low a possible price is a joke.
Well, but on the other hand, your beloved oil companies, they're like the biggest, most profitable companies in the world. I mean, they usually smack Apple back and forth. Isn't it time they took care of America, Max?
Wouldn't hurt to have the governor threaten to break them as a public utility.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that they've looked at that in the past. But anyway, to get after Kevin's question, they are not the most powerful or profitable companies in the world at all, and they go through a lot of periods. In fact, there's a lot of bankruptcies going on right now.
Boo hoo hoo hoo.
They drill a hole.
They have the most assets. They're certainly the richest, are they not?
They are not even close to the richest.
Oh, come on. On the Forbes list, Exxon's usually one or two.
There are one or two at times when energy prices are
For like the last
reasonable.
20 years.
Yeah, they're up there in sales, yes, but as far as profits, no.
Right, that's why they keep doing it, because they don't have any profits.
I'm not saying that Exxon doesn't do a better job than most companies, but Apple does a better job than most companies making cell phones as well.
I better watch out, Max. The Exxon police will get me.
Now, perhaps what we need is a two-forked approach. The first time is to look into price fixing.
Yeah, Dave Petzo. Are you fixing the prices?
I'm actually the owner of the pipeline.
I knew it.
And, yeah, I know you're the owner because we're partners. But let's not do that on the air.
Max.
Somebody like Mr. Kaya at KIDO come out.
All right, Max, thank you for the call. Here's from Jim. Kevin, some of those guys in the oil business are folks that are in the deep state. They don't want the public to benefit from anything the government does. That would require some sacrifice and their bottom line.
Are you looking for me to comment? I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I just don't. I just don't think it's a big conspiracy. I think oil is incredibly expensive and difficult to get. We have to build pipelines whenever the progressive buddies of yours are in office. We can't build
the libs.
We cannot build pipelines. We are not allowed to build the infrastructure. It makes it more difficult.
But we don't
are
need
playing
to.
catch up.
But we don't need to.
We do.
We're more efficient now.
We are more efficient now, but
So we
we're
don't
not.
need to build refineries. I'm the one advocating building a refinery in Idaho.
Do you imagine how much oil will come down in this country when we have pipelines rather than rail cars and trucks driving oil to the nearest pipeline, which can be hundreds of miles from these great producing fields?
Right.
And to your point, the technology has allowed them to frack for minimal cost.
And they can continue to make more oil and more gasoline.
And the price will go down.
And ship it out to everybody and continue to stick it to us.
You think they should just ship it to you?
I
They
think
should give it to you.
No.
They should not sell it to the highest bidder in the world.
No, that if you make it in this country, then please don't tell me that oil is scarce. Please don't tell me that
It is not scarce.
Please don't treat us like idiots when the oil companies say to us, well, we're over time. I have to go. I'm on a hard break this time.
You are.
I am.
All right.
To be
Fine.
continued, Dave Petzo.
All right. Next time.
All right.
I'm ready.
As you are. Dave Petzo, the Petzo Center, Petzo Financial. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. KIDO Talk Radio, State Representative Christy Perry joining us here, running for Congress. The campaign continues. Can you believe that May 15th is just around the corner?
No, it's coming quick.
Indeed. It's funny, as the campaign winds down, would you do this all over again?
I would.
Run for Congress?
I would. Well, I guess we'll see how this turns out on May 15th.
Sure.
Because that'll make it easier. But overall, I think it's been an incredible experience, and I'm very happy that I have run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go back to when we were kids, and the idea of being a congressperson, a state representative, a state senator, a senator, or president. Everybody says, well, you can dream to do that. So you are in the process. You've been elected, reelected several times at the state level, now to the State House, to the House of Representatives. You ever sit back and think about when you were a child that you'd be doing this, and you'd be, competitive, you'd be in this race, and who knows what's going to happen May 15th?
It takes me back to the reason, one of the impetus for my running in the first place, and that was girls' state, clear back in high school.
Right.
Just loved the process. And you know what, ever since then, I remember just thinking about it. And I thought, wow, wouldn't that be something? And I've loved it.
Indeed. So what do you like about traveling, except, a lot of miles on the odometer, I would imagine?
Don't mention the miles on my car to my husband. He's he's kind of watching the miles on the car, and he's not real happy about what's happening to those. But it's a huge district. It's a beautiful district, and every time I'm in the car, you got to kind of slow down a little bit. It gives you that time to slow down and reflect, and just remind yourself of how wonderful it is to live in this state.
So for people that are Treasure Valley centric, having traveled the district again and again, now you know it inside and out. What are we missing by just kind of hanging in the Treasure Valley?
By hanging in the Treasure Valley.
Right.
Well, the one thing about Idaho is that it just depends on where you are. It's got its own unique beauties. Owyhee County certainly has the desert down there that has its own unique beauty versus the forests up in Coeur d'Alene. So I don't know that we're missing anything.
Now
This is home.
Indeed. So let's talk about the issues facing you and your opponents. How do you differentiate yourself from the other candidates? What do you offer that they can't?
You know, one thing I think that running as a woman is a very different in itself. I think that women offer unique perspectives. I think that we tend to bring a different finesse to the process, and we certainly have seen that play out in the legislature. I think that we tend to bring a different focus. We're interested in those items that directly impact families on a daily basis and know that those need to be addressed, such as health care, Medicare, certainly Alzheimer's and dementia care. I mean, these types of things that our families through their continuums are going to need to deal with, that sometimes in some respects we've got a looming crisis in some of those issues. And I think that we want to focus on the family. I think that's terrific.
You know, when we talk about the looming crisis, obviously with medical expenses, and when we're taking a look at student loan debt, there's a lot of issues that Congress hasn't addressed. If elected, what would be some of your signature issues that you would bring to the table, ma'am?
You know, one of the things that I think we've really got to take a look at is certainly getting health care cost under control. The skyrocketing premiums are pricing people completely out of the market, and out of the market means out of health care.
For people that don't know you, and as you know, you work in real estate. You're on the inside, Skinny. You've been elected. You're a figure. You own a gun store along with your husband. You have Treasure Valley roots. But there have been a lot of people moving in. Mm-hmm. And many people, 2014, a very different election cycle than even 2016. And 2016 different because we have so many people moving in. So for people that have discovered this radio station and are hearing you for the first time and that will be voting, how would you introduce yourself to them?
Oh, that's a great question, huh? As a Canyon County girl, for me, my husband and I were both raised here in Middleton with those small town roots and small town values, still very close. Haven't rocks throw away from where we actually grew up, and the fact that we are so connected to this community and the people that live here, I think that's really a plus. I'd want people to know that. I'd want them to know that I'm Christian, that I believe that servant leadership is certainly incredibly important. We know that we own a gun shop, and that's also extremely important. I always tell people that we kind of operate on those guiding principles of faith, family, freedom, and the firearms that it takes to back them up.
Well, when we talk about the Second Amendment and firearms, you hang out with Second Amendment people, and it's like you get the truth. Very different from what you hear in the media when it comes to firearms, people vilifying the AR-15, people saying that we need to take guns. You know, you work with this all the time, you and your husband. There are thousands of gun laws on the books right now.
Yeah.
So your stance on the Second Amendment as it pertains to your campaign and your personal philosophy?
Well, I think like the vast majority of Idahoans do, that the crime is not in the gun. The crime is in the heart of the person committing it. And that's really where our focus has to be on what we're going to do culturally, to change how we treat each other. And, you can go back to almost every person who has committed one of these heinous crimes has some sort of trauma in their past, whether they were just simply bullied to death or they've suffered some sort of, trauma or abuse in their family. I mean, there's something behind their crime, but it certainly is not the gun itself. And by removing guns from everybody, then you're really making defenseless people. And I think that's a bigger crime in itself.
What do you make, though, of the push, and you've been involved in this as a leader in the Second Amendment community, the push by people to try and get the guns? It's amazing when you have these horrible tragedies, as we've talked about, and then the answer seems to be, well, we're going to go after the NRA. We're going to go after this. And look, we were all that way when we didn't have a lot of life experience, that we knew everything. And then to deal with
right.
with kids that, they're well-meaning, but they may not have the entire scope of the issue.
And I think so. We've talked about that quite a bit, and I think it's very unfortunate because I believe that these kids are really being used in a way that they don't understand to push an agenda and lose a right that they just don't fully understand yet themselves. And I think that's unfortunate to put them in that position.
So when you take a look at some of the other issues, obviously you've got North Korea going on, you've got President Trump. Now here's one for you. How Trump are you? Because everybody is President Trump.
Right.
So how Trump
so
are you?
I support Trump, and the only caveat that I have made is that he needs to stop tweeting between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And other than that, I like the fact that the man has a backbone. Certainly. I don't think that you can fault him at all for coming through on his campaign promises. I mean, really, if you look back at politicians, the one that I have grained in my brain is the one that said, look, read my lips, no new taxes. And then, the politician turned right around, and that's exactly the opposite of what he did. And so, the fact that Trump is sticking to the campaign promises he made to people, to me, says an awful lot about him, and I like that. The last time you and I actually talked in person, this was when North Korea just kind of got started, and
Sure.
we kind of talked about how that was, and we talked about North Korea used to saber rattle, and then the international community would come hand him everything. Well, Trump didn't do that, and because Trump was tougher and had a backbone and stood up, now we're at a completely different place, and I'm appreciating what he's doing.
What are the issues you're hearing about? Because, when we think of politicians, think of public servants, we hear what they say, but I would imagine most of the time on the trail, you listen. So what are the
Yes.
people in the first CD talking to you about?
They like President Trump. They want to know where I'm at. I'm President Trump. And they do,
Right.
which is great. They're interested in my stance, certainly on the Second Amendment. And usually I tell them, look, we own a gun shop, and that's different. I said, everyone's going to tell you they'll support the Second Amendment, but I live it.
Right.
That's been our livelihood. And that's also our lifestyle. And that's a completely different outlook. And so we explain that. People are very interested in health care. They're being priced out. They're losing their health insurance, which is of great concern to them. And so we have a lot of conversations about, what are we going to try to do there? And people are also real concerned about their children, whether or not they're going to be able to buy a home. Are they going to be able to take over their farm or their ranch? And they're worried. They've got some worries about the future, although they tend to also have, they feel very buoyed by Trump.
More coming up with State Representative Christy Perry. Next, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. State Representative Christy Perry joining us as we continue on here. How about immigration? Are people talking to you about immigration?
People are talking about building the wall. That's what I hear.
In Idaho.
In Idaho. They want to know where we are on building the wall. And immigration is an interesting topic. Almost everybody unanimously, well, I can't say unanimously, but I would say by a large part believe that we should build a wall. But yet at the same time, they also agree that we need to have a valid and workable immigration solution. We have businesses around here that certainly Micron would be a good example of who need to use a particular immigration program to bring in people into their world, as much as our agricultural district also needs to have a viable worker immigration program for them in order to succeed as well. And so that has been an issue.
That's a challenge, though, because on one hand, people are very concerned, rightfully so, but then you have good, hard people that own dairy farms, that are ranchers, that are cattlemen, and, the Micron workers as well, but that balancing act where you want people that are going to come in and contribute as opposed to come in and take.
Right. There's that issue, and that's a really great balancing act, but I think that's doable. The other concern too, and especially even from my perspective, is that when you have that open border, we know that we're also getting a lot of the cartel that comes through. We are getting the drug trafficking through there, and even worse for me, I think you get a lot of that human trafficking that comes through. When you put people and bring them up from Central America, and once they cross that border, and they're really at someone else's mercy. So many people are ending up in the human trafficking trade that it's heartbreaking.
And that's not in other places. That's here in Idaho.
That's here.
Yeah.
That's here. We had a hearing, obviously, this year in our Judiciary and Rules Committee, and we heard stories of girls right here on our own streets that were picked up and put into human trafficking.
Now, getting back to your time at the State House, are you going to miss that?
Very much. Very much. I love serving people. I've truly enjoyed it. I think that God has been very kind to me and blessed me and allowed me to do that. And I certainly hope that that people know how much I've cared and worked for them. But yeah, a good part of me is really going to miss that.
Right. So let's talk about your decision to run for Congress. And I can remember, it's a little emotional here for you, so we'll keep rolling here. I can remember when we were at Miller's Mission for the November kickoff, and you thankfully brought us a turkey. We appreciate your contribution and for showing up. But we were talking about your decision to run. When you take a look at the congressional race, did you ever think about lieutenant governor? You ever think about governor? I mean, there's not a lot of people running for governor. But
Oh, yeah.
but what made you decide to go with Congress as opposed to, let's say, another constitutional office, or stay where you are?
I think that to some degree was put on my heart a little bit. I mean, because yes, the door is wide open, and I probably could have chosen anything. But overall, I did look at two things to take into mind. One, I was asked to run for Congress, and not one occasion, but two. And I had also looked at the field, and I know each individual, and I was very unhappy really with what I saw. And just like when I ran for office the very first time, I really looked at who was already in office, and I thought, you know what, I could do better. And I kind of felt the same way here. There are viable candidates there, but I really truly in my heart felt that I could do better and serve the needs and serve the people of this district much better.
Should everybody run for office? Is it an education?
Could you repeat that? I didn't
Should everybody run for office? Is it an education that all of us citizens should really could benefit from?
I think so. I really do. And I've said that a number of times to people. I wish more people would run. I think you would gain an appreciation for what it takes to run. And then really an appreciation for the people that you serve. But for me also, and I've said this before, run. If you care about your communities, then run.
Christy Perry with us, 580-5436. Kevin Miller in the morning. Time for traffic and weather. And we continue on. State Representative Christy Perry with us. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. There's a lot of turnover going on in Congress. So if elected, there's going to be a lot of freshmen, a lot of churn, if you will. What would you like to do? Is there any committees that you'd like to look at?
Well, first, I'd like to tell you that I'm really glad there's going to be a lot of turnover in Congress. I think that's going to be a definite plus. I think even term limits, reasonable term limits at the congressional level are a great idea. But coming into Congress, what I'm looking forward to is really moving away from that no kind of attitude, and also having people kind of go to their corners and throw rocks at each other. What I'd really like to do is really start building relationships with other states that are very similar to Idaho. And instead of really kind of coalescing around ideology, I think we're going to be better to start kind of building coalitions around need. Idaho and a lot of our western states share similar values. We certainly share similar needs. And I think that that's a better way going forward. So I'm a very relational person. I've certainly been very successful in the legislature by being able to bring people together. And I'm looking forward to start working on that.
I've got a couple seconds left. You've been a champion of horse racing in Idaho.
Yes.
Make your case.
Horse racing. Well, one, other than that's so historical for Idaho. We have had that for so many years, and generations have enjoyed the horse racing. And certainly Idaho was in a great position to really be on a horse racing circuit. We have a great facility right here in Canyon County, actually, for that. And yet the Idaho legislature ended up killing it and reversing what was called historical horse racing, which really would have allowed us to raise the money for the purses. And I'm very disappointed that that was done while still allowing the state to have things and Indian tribes to have gambling too.
Christy Perry, we'd love to have you back, ma'am.
You know what? Thank you so much for the invitation. I'd love to come back.
KIDO Talk Radio, good morning.